Hello, welcome. My name is Christine. I'm an Anusara certified teacher. I've been teaching yoga for around 30 years, and I teach here in a little town called Bulahdelah on the New South Wales mid-north coast in Australia. So you're interested in doing yoga, but perhaps you think that you're not mobile enough, or that you're not flexible, or perhaps like me at the moment, you've got a house full of people and there's no room to spread a mat out. No, it doesn't make any difference. I'd like to introduce you to a unique way of doing yoga using a chair. If you've got a chair, I've got a practice for you. A simple kitchen chair. This chair that I use came from the recycling centre, $1 or $2. It's comfortable, it's got a good backrest, and I can do a lot of poses on this chair that I can do equally well on the mat. Sometimes when we're working, and particularly when we're working from home, which is happening frequently now, there's so many distractions that take us away from our yoga practice. Or perhaps you are someone who finds it quite challenging to get down onto the floor and to get back up again. So I've decided to record this unique chair practice that can be done for either of those reasons, or simply because it's something that you enjoy, or some way that you enjoy working with your body. It can be gentle and quiet, or it can be strong. But what's very clear to me is that when you create stability by using the chair here, then the body is able to work towards the sense of freedom that makes us, that gives us joy, that makes our body feel open and expansive. So let's start. Let's begin with what we call cat and cow tilts. Now I'd like you to sit forward right on the front edge of your chair, and on your first exhalation, send the exhalation down into your buttock bones so that your pelvis feels stable. Place your hands at the front of your knees here, and as you breathe in, pull on your knees and draw your heart forward, open your chest, and as you breathe out, push out away from your knees and round your spine back to the backrest of the chair. And then inhaling, drawing your chest forward, exhaling and pushing away with your hands to round your spine. And I'm going to show you on the edge of the chair so it's clearer what my spine is doing. What we're doing is creating stability in the pelvis and some more freedom through the spine itself. So inhaling, lifting, arching the lower back, exhaling, pushing away with the heel of the hand, and inhale, letting the breath lead you into this freedom of the spine. And you can do a couple more as I return to the front of the chair. And finishing with an exhale, pause, and then take your arms out from your side, and we'll find some movement through the arms. Now when we take the little finger up a little bit higher, try that. Just let your hands relax there and feel where your shoulder blades are on your back chest. And then as you draw your little finger up toward the ceiling, feel how the shoulder blades draw onto your back chest. So again, that feeling of stability in the upper back, so that as you inhale and reach your arms up, the upper back is supporting you. Exhaling, letting your arms float down on the breath. Turn the little finger up again. Inhale and reach up, and exhale and let your arms float down. When I take my arms up, I like to think that I'm gathering a ball of energy between my arms here, and as the arms float down with the palms turned down, that my arms are resting down on another ball of energy on each side. So a couple more of these. Inhaling, reaching up, exhaling and letting the arms float down. Little finger comes up, shoulder blades firm, freedom through the arms, and exhale and come down. And we'll just do one more stretch here for the shoulders. Now, we do in our yoga postures something that we call Garudasana arms, the eagle pose. If this is difficult for you, and again I'm going to go to the side so you can see that position. I've taken my arms out to the side, I've crossed the right elbow over the left, keeping the arms long. The bottom hand comes up, so the thumb's in line with the nose. The top palm turns up, and then the palms come together. Now, if that's difficult for you, you don't have the shoulder freedom for that, just let the top arm stretch out straight, and as you breathe in, it's a gentle but firm movement of the top arm into the bottom arm, and you'll feel that in your shoulder. I'm sure you'll feel that in your shoulder. And if you can come into this position, that's great too. So then as you breathe in, draw your breath from your elbow tips into the place between your shoulder blades and the upper back, and as you breathe out, soften inside. And again, breathing in from the elbow tips into the upper back, and exhaling, softening inside. And then we take the arms out again, and then take the left elbow over the right, either into this position, where you can inhale and press gently, exhale and soften inside, or you can come from the elbow tips, drawing your breath in from the elbow tips into the base of the heart between the shoulder blades, exhaling and softening inside. So you can do that another 2 or 3 times. Enjoy the feeling of stretch over your shoulders. Oftentimes when we've been sitting for a long time, the shoulders do get very tight, and the neck as well. It's a lovely way to stretch it out. So then pause as you finish, and we're going to twist the spine a little bit now. So come onto the edge of your chair here with your right hip facing the backrest of the chair, and we're going to put the hands on the backrest of the chair. And again, I'm going to just turn the chair a little bit so it's easier for you to see. Both hands on the backrest, feet flat. So you need to come forward on the chair enough that your feet can be flat on the floor. And this helps with the grounding, with the stability, so that we can find freedom through the spine to turn. So there's a breath in, and I like to take the breath into the back of my waist. And that gives space then on the exhale to turn to the right. So your right hip is facing the backrest, you're turning to the right, and we're creating the space in the back of the waist by breathing into the back of the waist around that kidney area. It's just above the back of the waist. Opening the chest and turning, keeping the feet absolutely solidly on the floor, the pelvis firmly on the chair, and letting the spine turn, letting the whole trunk turn. Another breath there. And then we swing around and take the left hip into the chair, hands onto the backrest, inhaling into the back of the waist, creating the space. Exhale and turn. It feels wonderful to turn the spine like this. And inhale and come back to your center. And once again, I'll turn my chair so I can face you. Now we're going to do something to stretch the sides of the waist, or the whole side rib cage really. You're going to take your feet wide apart, you can turn them out a little bit. And then lean your left forearm onto your left thigh. And again, as you take your right arm out, turn the little finger up firmly so that again you feel the shoulder blades come onto your back chest. And then with a breath in, we lift up. As we breathe out, we're both stretching out to the left, but we're also taking the exhalation down into the right buttock bone. If we didn't do that and just tipped over like this, we'd lose the stretch, we'd lose the freedom through the side ribs, but also we lose the stability of the pelvis. So exhaling down into the right buttock bone, stretching out, and just enjoying that feeling of length through the side ribs there. With an inhalation, we come up, drop the right forearm onto the right thigh, turn the little finger up, feel that firmness in the shoulder blades. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, down onto the left buttock bone and stretch out through the left side ribs. Stability through the pelvis so that we get freedom through the upper body. Inhaling and coming up. And in your own practice, you can just pause on your computer or your phone, and you can do that again if you like. So now we're going to do a dog pose. And just one thing for those of you who find it difficult to get out of chairs, it's much easier to lift yourself out of a chair if you exhale and push. So take a nice full breath in, and then exhale, push into the chair and lift yourself up. So we're going to use the backrest of the chair to do what I call either, or it could be a half dog pose or a half forward bend. So we're going to step back until the feet are directly underneath the hips. You can see that I'm not actually hanging on to the chair particularly, but I'm stretching my fingers out. And then I bend my knees, press down through the feet, inhale, lift the buttock bones up to the ceiling, and that might be as far as you go. Because if you straighten your legs and your back rounds like this and the buttock bones drop, we actually lose the freedom through the spine. So keeping the knees bent allows us to stretch out through the spine and keep the legs firm. But if it's on for you, you can firm the legs, hug the muscles of the shins in onto the bones, firm the thigh muscles, and take the very top of your thighs back to get more length through the spine. And inhale and walking in. Now, another way of using the backrest of the chair, but this really depends on how high the backrest is. Sometimes with these chairs, I like to simply bring the backrest of the chair right into the groin area here. Feet straight, always feet straight while you're standing or sitting. And then bowing over the backrest of the chair and resting my forehead down onto the backrest. Now that might not be possible for your chair and for your body, so we can simply come around to the front of the chair again, place hands on the chair, again start with straight feet, so the second toes are pointing straight ahead, bend the knees, inhale and pull up through the thighs to lift the buttock bones up high, and this is what allows the spine to lengthen down, and you can rest your head on the chair, or if you have more mobility or flexibility, you can actually take your hands down onto the floor and rest your forehead on the edge of the chair there. This is a really nice way to take a longer, what we call uttanasana, a standing forward bend, holding it there with your head resting, the legs staying firm, and then softening between the shoulder blades again to get that sense of freedom through the upper body. Feels fantastic. So we're going to, again, I'm just going to turn the chair around, so giving you the best view that I can of what I'm doing. So we're going to stand on the left foot and take the right foot up onto the chair. Now this might not be possible for you. So I'm going to suggest another way of doing this if you don't have this capacity in your body, but I'll show you this first. So we're going to take one hand, the right leg's up on the chair. See how I've stretched my toes out? That means that by stretching the toes, this muscle up the outer shin here is going to be nice and firm. So it creates the stability on both legs by doing that. And then as I breathe in, I'm going to try to pull my heel back towards my hip, but my heel's not going anywhere. This is what we call an isometric action. And it creates, as I breathe in, it creates a lot of stability all through the leg and back into my right hip. And then as I breathe out, I bow from the hips and come forward over that leg. Now this is a really good hamstring stretch. But if you don't create that stability through the leg first, you'll find that by stretching with no muscular strength in the leg, you're going to get a pull right where the hamstring attaches to the buttock bone here. We don't want that. So inhaling, pulling the heel back, firming the leg, keeping the leg firm, exhaling and bowing forward. And then the other leg. Left foot up. Inhale, pull the heel back, isometric action, hold the muscular response in the leg, and exhale and bow. And the hamstrings might not feel that they've got a lot of freedom right here and now, but this is how we create freedom in the legs. Foot straight and bow. Now there's another way to do this. If you're reluctant to get out of your chair, you can do a leg stretch by simply sitting on the chair again. And I've got a couple of yoga blocks here. Now you might not have yoga blocks. Perhaps you've got an offcut of a piece of 4x4 and someone has kindly sanded it down for you because you don't want splinters in your feet. Or you've got a nice pile of encyclopedias or something else where you can raise your foot up off the floor a little bit. So you can, let's make that a little bit more stable. So you can put your foot on here. Again, you inhale, and again, I'm right on the front edge of the chair. Inhale, pull back into the hip, and then exhale and just go forward a little. And that's going to depend on how stretchy your hamstrings are. Hamstrings, of course, are these back thigh muscles, often tight. So firming and bowing. And then the left leg. Inhaling, drawing the heel back, holding the muscular response, exhaling and bowing. So that's another way to do a stretch for the back thigh muscles there. Okay, so we're going to leave the blocks there, or perhaps you won't need them. Now, the other thing that we use in the yoga studio is this sort of belt. And again, it's quite possible that you don't have any sort of yoga belt, but I guarantee you've got something around. I've got this nice little cotton scarf here that I can roll up and use, or I've just whipped a belt out of my trousers. I can use that as well. So we'll put that aside for the moment. I'm going to use this so I can show you. There's lots of things around your house you can use to support your yoga practice. So we're going to keep the foot on the blocks again. I'm going to put the belt around the ball of the foot, keep the other knee bent, and again the first exhalation down into the buttock bones so that I feel really solid on the chair. Then again, this is going to be up to what your body is capable of, but you can lift your leg up and then exhale out through the foot. It may be that you only lift your leg to here, or you might get high enough that you can hold the belt and take your leg quite high. And if you can take your leg quite high, you can extend that stretch into opening the knee back. But if you can't do that, that's fine. You just stay down here and give yourself a little bit of a lift there. And then again, we take the block over so that it's in line with the left hip. Make sure that's in line. And then put the belt around the ball of the foot. And you can use a scarf, whatever you need. Firming the leg first, of course, as we did before. And then you can lift up as much as you can lift up. If you can take your leg higher, take it into a nice big stretch up there, and then you can finish that stretch by drawing the knee back and opening the hip a little bit in this way. And releasing. Again, something that if you're not used to doing these sorts of practices, when you lower your leg down, you can also just support your leg to come down onto the floor, onto the blocks or onto the encyclopedias or the 4x4, whatever you're using here. So always support yourself as you come out of these. So now I'm going to show you, so we've stretched out the back thigh muscles. Now we're going to stretch out the front thigh muscles. So this time we do need to have just the left buttock bone on the chair. And again, this foot flat on the floor and straight. And if you don't reach the floor, here comes the encyclopedia. The foot's up here. So you're going to put your left hand around the chair and then hold your right foot. Again, if you can't reach your right foot, here comes the scarf as a very good way to reach. So you just put that around your ankle, wrap it around your hand, and hold it like this. Or if you can hold your foot, curl your toes over your foot, take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to draw your knee back and push your foot into your hand, but you're going to resist with your hand. So stretching back through the front of the thigh, called the quadricep muscles, drawing the foot back, the knee back as much as you can, and releasing. Don't forget to take deep breaths. The breath will always support you in what you're doing. So we'll turn to the other side now and stretch the left front thigh muscles. So the right buttock bone is on the chair. The left buttock bone is just off, but the right arm is really wrapped around the backrest of the chair for stability. And of course the right foot is straight. So we pick up the foot, or we put the belt or the scarf around the foot or the ankle. And just a word about the breath here. So we want the breath to lead us into the action. So we take a breath in, fill up the back body and then the front body. And then it's the exhalation that leads us into this thigh stretch. We don't want the knee out here, we want the knee coming underneath the hip and exhaling and stretching back. Taking the knee back, pushing the foot into the hand. Thigh stretch feels good. A thigh stretch can also be quite a relief for the lower back, if you ever have any lower back twinges. And release. So let's do a little more work now towards freedom in the shoulders. I'm going to use the scarf this time. If you've got a belt, use a belt. And again, come to the front edge of the chair. You're going to put the scarf or the belt around the backrest of the chair. And it's just something to pull against. The palms are facing forward, my elbows are bent. And again, the first thing I check are my feet straight. The exhalation comes down into the buttock bones. And then a full breath in. And then pulling on the belt or the scarf, the head of the arm bone, which is right here, goes back. Oops, lost my scarf. The head of the arm bones move back as you pull on the belt. Now, if it's too strong, just ease off on the pull a little bit. You can take the scarf up a little bit higher if you want, if you can get the head of the arm bones back. Feels great. And release. Oh, yes. Now, if this next one is too strong for you, just sit quietly and we'll get to something that's a little more accessible. But this is a great way to do one of the standing poses, which we call Parasvakonasana, which is an intense side stretch, side angle stretch. So we're going to put the right thigh across the chair. I hope your chair's not too wide for this. And again, if your foot's just hanging in midair here, then we need to get that block of wood, that block or that encyclopedia under the foot so that we've got a horizontal thigh here. And then the left leg stretches back. Just a word about the positioning of this left leg. If you're too far back, you might find that the outer foot comes off the floor. We don't want that. And also, if it's too far back and you try to get that outer foot down, you might find there's a little bit of gripping in the hip. So we just draw that foot forward a little bit until it feels comfortable enough to draw the outer foot down onto the floor. So again, we're going to place the forearm with the palm facing up on the front thigh. And then we're going to take this arm out. Again, the little finger comes up. We take a nice full breath in. Exhale and stretch out. And this time, instead of taking the exhalation into the left buttock bone, we take it into the left outer heel. The left outer heel. So we lift up, exhale, and stretch. And if you've got enough movement there, you can look under your armpit. Let the chest turn up toward the ceiling. And if this feels too limiting here, you might like to take your hand down onto one of the back, onto the back chair leg. And it's an inhale to come up. And again, we need to do both sides equally and evenly. And because my legs are a wee bit short for this chair, I'm going to put my foot on the block again. The left thigh coming right up towards the front edge of the chair, which gives the right leg now the freedom to stretch back. And again, we want the outer foot, see the toes are turned in a little bit? We want the outer foot to be reaching toward the floor, because when that outer heel finds the exhalation coming down through the leg, then we get the freedom to stretch deeply through the right side ribs, right side body, and the chest to open. So you can start with the forearm on the thigh, palm turned up, little finger lifting, inhale. As you exhale, send the breath out through the outer heel, and now we get a little bit more multitasking. If you can also send the exhale out through the top fingertips, you'll find you get a fantastic stretch. So I'm going to put my hand down a bit. And it's an inhalation to come up. Turn the foot forward and bring your legs forward. So this next one, which we call Prasarita Padottanasana, we're going to stand and have, I'm going to put these things away, move them out of the way a little bit. And I'm going to show you to the side again, standing with my legs wide apart. And it's really important that your feet are straight here. So not turned out like this, but the feet straight. And you just go as wide as you can. We're going to start with the knees bent, arms on the chair. And as you breathe in, I want you to again use this isometric action where you inhale and push your feet apart, but they don't go anywhere. And you can see possibly that when I do that, the buttock bones rise up. I get a little arch in my back, and then when I exhale and straighten the legs, the outer feet come down to the floor. So there's a balance between the inner foot and the outer foot. And then I can reach my hands forward, keeping the thighs back, stretch out. Every exhalation can come between the shoulder blades so that we find some spaciousness and freedom in the chest. And then to come up, hands on the chair, and you can jump or you can just wriggle your feet in towards each other. A couple of caterpillars coming together. So that's a lovely stretch for the inner thighs, and again a lovely opening through the spine. And then last, in these what we call the standing poses, we can step the right foot forward, step the left foot back, just about 1 metre, and the toes you can see on that back foot are turned well in. So as I breathe in, I'm going to turn the inner thigh of this back leg back behind me. One way I like to do this, now this is a bit more complicated, and if you're not familiar with this sort of teaching, you can ignore it, but I like to inhale and pull the skin of the inner heel back, and that will turn the whole inner leg and bring the left hip forward. I'll show you. So I'm here, and if this is too low, you can put your hands, turn the chair around, put your hands on the backrest. So I'm going to inhale and pull. You see how my hips are facing this way a little bit? I'm going to pull the skin of the inner heel back, and you can see how that turns the whole inner leg and draws that left hip forward. Then, keeping this inner foot very firm, I'm going to turn the right leg out a little bit and then bow forward. And again, it's nice just to have this edge of the chair here to rest your head, or if you can't get down that far, you just stay upright. And breathe. Whatever is on for you. And again, changing legs. Left foot forward, right foot back. The heels pretty much in line. The back toes turned in well and the front foot straight. And again, I'm going to use that inhalation, pulling the skin of the inner right heel back, or if you can't do that, you can simply turn the inner thigh back. The inner foot of the front foot stays firm, and we turn that leg out a little bit, and then exhale and bow. So from the stability of the legs, we can find some freedom through the upper body. Now, it might not be much freedom. When I'm talking about freedom, I'm not saying that things just happen like that, because they don't. The body is oftentimes stuck in some old patterns, and then we just gradually shift those patterns until we find a little more freedom each time. And it's always an inhalation to come up, step the feet together, and then we'll go into one more dog pose here. Nice symmetrical movement to get towards the end of our practice. Press the inner feet down, inhale, pull the inner thighs up, pull the buttock bones up, and if you need to, you keep your knees bent. If you can straighten without rounding your spine like this, then you can take the top of the thighs back and stretch it out. Keep my feet even there. Ears in line with the upper arms is a good position for the head, so we're not just letting the head drop like this, and we're not creating tension in the neck by lifting the head forward. So just ears in line with the upper arms. And then we can walk in. Inhale, come up. Turn the chair. Sit on the front edge of the chair again. And again, for that stability through the pelvis, exhaling down, legs wide, You might need your blocks, or you can simply come forward, take your hands onto the floor. I always use fingertips on the floor. I find that it helps to get more stability through the upper back. Whereas sometimes when we place the hands flat, we'll tend to round the spine. We don't want to take the spine out of its natural curves, but just soften. And inhaling to come up. So in our yoga practices, we always finish with some relaxation. We're going to do the relaxation sitting in the chair today because for some of you, getting down onto the floor for relaxation might be tricky. So we're going to just sit back on the chair now, and again, you want the spine supported, so if you want to put a cushion behind your lower back, you can do that. I can't sit right back because I've got this microphone bit on the back of my tights here, so I'm going to sit forward a little bit. But again, we want the feet flat on the floor. You can have your hands maybe with the right hand into the left palm, tops of the thumbs touching. That's quite a nice position to be in. Or you can simply rest your hands onto your thighs. And it's quite a good idea when you're coming into a relaxation to take your glasses off if you wear glasses. I find now in my older age that I need glasses a lot, but in relaxation the glasses tend to be something that the mind goes towards. We can feel them on our face. So I'm just going to put them to one side so I don't step on them. And then we can close the eyes, keep the spine uplifted, the head of the arm bones back, and then exhale down into the buttock bones. Tuning into the breath, simply watching the breath move in and out of the body, feeling the little movements of the body as the breath enters and leaves. We keep the head resting on top of the spine, not dropping forward, not tilting the chin up. And then let your lower eyelids, the eyelids right at the bottom of your eyes, let them get very, very heavy. Very, very heavy. So heavy that the muscles of the face begin to relax of their own accord. Corners of your eyes soften. Corners of your mouth softening and spreading. Let your eyeballs sink back a little, even turning the eyeball down a little bit, eyeballs down a little bit, so that as if you're looking into the space of your heart. Now imagine that the inner space of your body is nothing but space. Imagine the whole inner body is nothing but space. And imagine that the outer body is like a very thin membrane, like the skin of a balloon, but porous. A thin membrane holding the space of the inner body, holding the spaciousness of the inner body. And imagine that outside there is nothing but space. As you breathe in, you breathe space in through the pores of that thin membrane. And as you breathe out through the thin membrane into the space outside. Breathing space in and breathing space out. You can stay in this practice for as long as you like. It's good to have at least 5 minutes relaxing after a practice. I'm going to leave you here now to take this quiet, meditative practice into the length of time of your choosing. And when you come out of that meditative state, move slowly, quietly, so that as we return to the outer world of objects, names, language, we bring some of that inner spaciousness with us. Thank you and namaste.